Where is Final Fantasy 13? Hey, there it is. Wait, why isn't this one shiny like the other one? So yes, if you didn't know, Square Enix's Final Fantasy is a long-running series and a lot of games on it are very old. And they look like this. So over time, Square has remastered or remade the games. Every single mainline Final Fantasy has had this treatment. And with the release of the pixel remaster of the early games, which means at this very moment, all of the mainline Final Fantasy games are playable on modern consoles. All except the 13 trilogy, which were released during the PS3 era and have only been put on Game Pass, which not many people have access to, or on PC. And I don't think I need to remind you why that wasn't such a great thing.
It's on fire!
Yes, specifically 13-2, which is my favorite Final Fantasy, has possibly the most broken PC port Square Enix has ever put out, and has no chance of being patched like Nier Automata, which eventually got patched due to public outcry, and is at least now playable. Oh yeah, you can still play all the 13 games on PC from start to finish, but for some, you have to go through so many hoops and hurdles, especially on 2, to get it running at a playable state. And so with all this talk of remasters and Square being the kings of repackaging the same game again to make more money, I mean, if you just want money, Square, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you all. Just release a limited big box edition for 13-2, and I'm there. I guess with how FF13 was seen as a bad release at launch, where so many gamers did not like it and were put off by the linearity or the angry cast members, and probably never tried its sequels, which I feel are so much better. But then you think FF15 also had a rocky reception with its incredibly long dev time, to then it being touted as a first time as Final Fantasy, which yes, it was my first one, so it worked, you got me into it. But it also had these new additions, and even an adorable D-make.
What? What's what? Wait, that's me? But...
Without a doubt.
I'd say she did a fine job capturing our most prominent features.
Prominent features?
And even then, the original game is still playable on modern hardware. You buy that PS4 game, you just load it up on your PS5, it will run. Very slow though, I think with the loading, I don't know, the SSD will help that. Oh my, that loading on the PS4, you had to be there. Yet FF13 was in the PS3 era, where it still is very hard to emulate now. And even then Game Pass, those versions are not there forever. So is it something of optics? Would remastering these games be bad for the brand? It's just so baffling, because I can easily see these doing very well a package of these 3 games releasing now on the PlayStation 5. I mean, there's barely anything else to play on it. And what prompted me to revisit this topic again, this has been a reoccurring thing, I keep coming back to this, they still haven't done it, was that just this year, Square Enix tweeted, "What is your hot take on Final Fantasy?" Alex here replied that 13 needs a remaster. And those interns say, "Any reason for a remaster instead of a remake emoji?" What do you know, interns? There's literally no other reason to do this unless you're wanting to see fan demand, or there is something being cooked in the oven back there, or they really just love baiting fans. And it's Square Enix, so it could be all of them. I think with Square's sales not meeting their lofty expectations, why wouldn't a remaster be at least feasible? It wouldn't cost as much as making a new Final Fantasy game from scratch. They could slot it in between their other big releases. We know they got Dragon Quest 12 and Kingdom Hearts 4 coming up, so then they would remake. Okay, we'll get to that later. So with this idea, I wanted to put forth what I would want from a potential 13 trilogy remaster. So the most likely scenario would be something to say how FF10 did with its sequel and other content, all in one package. You can buy both games and it's got a menu like Kingdom Hearts, and this bundle would be playable not only on PC but other major consoles, more specifically the Switch, because yeah, despite being old, the game actually holds up beautifully in its art style and would look absolutely perfect on the Switch with its smaller screen. Now you may be thinking, oh gee, why not just buy a Steam Deck and play them that way? I have one and it doesn't even work on it half the time. So yeah, I think packaging all 3 games into one bundle would be the best scenario for fans of every console to be able to play the games in one package. But that would just be a port, and I personally feel they could do a little more effort, as they've done with the other remasters of other games, and actually remaster the game like they've done with other Final Fantasies, adding in many bonus enhancement and features. Firstly, I think they could update the graphics with a new engine, like how fans have done so with so many mods, making it actually look even more crisp. then naturally fix all the bugs that plague all the versions, because apparently the Game Pass version has already done that. And I mean, it's things like the frame rate or how the game only uses 2 gigs of virtual memory on computer. Yes, it's baffling how Square didn't even notice this, and fans had to make a way to unlock your memory to run the game. To then fixing the button prompts to match the accurate console inputs, fixing stuff like textures, or in particular the audio, because I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but in 13.2, also sorry if this video is focusing more on that game, it's just my favorite, okay, I can't keep quiet about it, but the audio mixing is terrible. There are so many scenes like this.
So this is what the end of the world looks like.
When the music blares over the dialogue and no option to control the audio like background music, the sound effects, dialogue on its own sliders, you need to have subtitles on a first playthrough to understand what's being said. Now all these are available to fix on the PC port, which I did on my third replay, and the game runs really well, but man, it takes so much work to try and do it yourself. And I honestly can't see the average gamer going to bother with all that effort to make the game playable. This is stuff that has to be part of the remaster. Now then, I would also like to see bonus console content put back into the game, because originally when they came out, yes again 13.2, had bonus DLC outfits. Now I don't expect them to implement this entirely, as 2 of them are licensed to other games, and I'm sure they won't be able to get the rights to use them again. But at least the other costumes should be added back in. But then it got me thinking, what about more outfits as a bonus? Maybe references to other Final Fantasies, or how about adding costume features to FF13? Because they already have Lightning wearing heaps of costumes in the final game, why not add some of them back to the first one? Making it like a post-game unlock feature, stuff like that to add more replayability. And speaking of replayability, Square, New Game Plus? Please? Because the first 2 games do not have any form of this. In fact, both of them don't even have a hard mode difficulty. As someone who loves these games, I so wish I could just replay them on a harder difficulty as a challenge. Or try New Game Plus with bonus extras, like how the Tales series does them with handicaps or bonuses you can pick on each run. So for instance, in 13.2, you can carry over the monsters you have at the start of the game now. So when you play on hard, you already have your strong creatures, you know, stuff like that. This kind of thing is common in other JRPGs, and it's so baffling that these games don't have any form of endgame bonus content. Now, like with their other remasters, I would like to see them add things like a speed up option, or insta replenish your health and magic, or an instant ATB bar. This is such a godsend for people who aren't too familiar with JRPGs. Me personally was how I was able to beat FF9, because sometimes you just don't have that time to dedicate to a JRPG, but you still want to see the story through to the end. And in fact, I've actually not beaten FF13 due to this, not having time to grind the levels out, and then I had to watch the cutscenes on YouTube. But then I was able to beat both of the sequels just fine. This would let people who don't have the time to be able to experience the unique story and not feel left out. It would be so appealing to newcomers on the remaster. So yeah, all of that would be ideal for me, stuff that doesn't necessarily change how the game functions itself, but still gives new fans a way to try it out, and old fans a ways to replay the game once more. And you know, maybe we could just chuck in some bonus content on the box, you know. And okay, so what about that remake? What would I want? Well, there is that FF9 remake leak, but with how long and expensive remakes are, and even then, the FF7 remake part 2 didn't meet Square's money expectations despite being an absolutely amazing game. I doubt they would do it then, which is then more baffling why they would tweet this. Do you want to spend all that money on doing it? Because if you do, I would love to see them improve 13 to change it up so, you know, gamers, what they hated on release, fix all those things. You know, maybe slightly bigger world like in 13.2 and combat like 13.2. Okay, just pick 13.2 again. Pretty much, I think they should have some more cohesiveness between all 3 games. I doubt though they're gonna remake 13.2 and Lightning Returns, so then maybe go in the FF7 way. Change up the whole story, mess everything up, so why not go nuts with it? I think there is potential to twist things up since a lot of people didn't like that original story, so maybe they might this time around. But then again, it is a very expensive thing to do. So then, why tweet this out? Why? It's so baffling! Which is why then I think a remaster seems to be the more safer option. But yeah, that's what I would love to see from a potential 13 Trilogy remaster. I really hope Square doesn't forget about this game, when the majority of people ignored it, and with how they seem to be focusing on the other Final Fantasies, I just hope it gets the love it deserves, because it would be amazing to replay these games once more in a new way, and see more fans try them out. So, would you buy a remaster if they actually made one? As it is still pretty hard to get into them easily now, I would love for it to be a launch title for, say, the Switch 2. That would be an insane opening game. Let me know your thoughts down below. Because if everyone can play and know about Lightning more, then they can finally remake those fighting games. This is so stupid. I need to play this.
Trojan, RamZaes, Magnum, Sheik.